Chicagoland Speedway is where the closest finishes in IndyCar history have occurred. Some very cool and windy weather has moved into Joliet, Illinois. But as the sun goes down and the lights come up, another chapter in the road to the 2009 IndyCar Championship is about to unfold.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines!
3 rounds remain in the race for the IndyCar Series Championship. The 2009 fight continues as this season's title contenders have separated themselves from the pretenders. In just 14 races, the points lead has changed 13 times. Ganassi teammates and the past 2 IndyCar Series champs Dario Franchitti and Scott Dixon dare to deliver their final 3-race punch. Team Penske's Ryan Briscoe is atop the standings. How will luck play out for a driver seeking his first IndyCar title? It's the first of 3 oval races on the road to the championship. As the best of the 2009 IndyCar season. 3 drivers separated by 21 points, led by Ryan Briscoe, who's never been involved in a championship battle, but did survive a nightmare here at Chicagoland 4 years ago. Welcome to IndyCar Central on Versus, and a night of what very well could be unparalleled racing excitement. The 15th race of the IndyCar season, the Peak Antifreeze and Motor Oil Indy 300 will get the green flag in just a little more than 1 hour. Hi everyone, I'm Bob Jenkins. Welcome to Chicagoland, the scene of IndyCar racing's best finishes. Ovals will end the season this year. After tonight, we have an oval at Motegi, Japan, and then the finale at Homestead Miami Speedway. The 3 drivers battling for the championship have won the last 3 races, including Dario Franchitti last Sunday at Infineon. Welcome to Sonoma at Infineon Raceway. The green flag is out.
Here's this big elevation climb, 14 stories. There's
we got contact. Several cars involved. Dixon is in the middle of the racetrack. Full course caution. There's a lot of debris.
We've got major carnage here. There are multiple cars. At least a dozen have made contact. Scott Dixon is stopped. Frank Montani is spun around, going in the wrong direction.
Going to the inside of Castro Neves, the exact same place that he got together with
airborne.
Castro Neves is off, and he flies up, and this thing is totally beached.
Dario Franchitti wins his 4th victory of the season.
Great job, guys. Great pit stop.
And Dario Franchitti comes off that road course win at Sonoma. Here we are at an oval. You were really happy last weekend with your car. You said after qualifying yesterday, you're happy with the balance, but it's just not as fast as you'd like. How do you feel right now going into the race?
Well, I think it's okay. I think the LifeLock car is not bad. It was good in last practice. They were quite happy with the speed, but no one really knows. No one knows what they got in because drafts, are so much of a part of practice here. We'll see what happens tonight. Most races are unpredictable, but this one I think even more so.
Let's talk about 2007, the last turn of the last lap when you beat Dixon when he runs out of fuel. You weren't teammates then. How different is it now to be sharing 100% of your information with him?
We were just talking about that in there and what we can do to get ourselves in that position to fight out for the win tonight. We had the luxury that it was Scott against me. Everybody else was up pretty much a lap down. I don't think we're going to have that luxury tonight, but hopefully we can get both the target team cars right up the front and fight that out.
Dario Franchitti starting 3rd tonight.
All right, thank you, Lindy. Well, for the last 3 seasons, this has been the final race of the year. And for the last 2 years, the champion has emerged on the last lap of the race.
The final lap of the 2007 season here at Chicagoland Speedway. Dixon by a half a car length. Dario swings it wide. Dario Franchitti, he'll win the race. He'll win the title. Scott Dixon runs out of fuel with a final lap. goodness. Elio is the winner of this race. What an incredible final lap.
Well, one of the things week in and year out here at Chicago, Bob, is that Scott Dixon is the guy that's in the middle of everything. Well, let me tell you what's been happening with Scott Dixon this weekend. He spun at Sonoma last week, and that kind of knocked him from the top of the points to the back. Well, with this weather change as well, the crew has been scrambling in the last half hour. In fact, they've made a major gear stack selection change. Why? Because in the dark, and the way the things are starting to plummet in terms of temperature and the wind, they have been inside with the engineers talking precisely about that. We hope to catch up with Scott, but right now he's a little bit preoccupied trying to figure out what it's going to take to get back out on top.
Perfectly understandable, Jack. This racetrack is 1.5 miles in length. Turns banked at 18 degrees. It's produced the 2 closest finishes in series history, 3 of the top 5 and 4 of the top 9. In 2005, Dan Weldon beat Elio Castroneves by 13 thousandths of a second. 2003, Sam Hornish Jr. beat Scott Dixon by 9 thousandths of a second. In 2008, it was Elio Castroneves beating Scott Dixon by 3 1/1000ths of a second. And in 2002, the closest finish in history saw Sam Hornish Jr. beat Al Unser Jr. by 24 10,000ths of a second. Robbie Floyd is standing by with the only repeat winner in tonight's field.
Yes, and Dan Weldon wins with 2 different teams. And Panther Racing, your team now has 2 wins here at Chicagoland. Wouldn't it be nice to get the 2 together and you both get your 3rd victory here?
No, it would be great, and certainly the National Guard car has been strong tonight. Oh, it was strong last night, and I expect it to be strong tonight. We've had, you know, a difficult season. We had a great Indianapolis. The last few races haven't gone our way, but I've got a feeling it's going to be some pretty close pack racing tonight, and I think that's where I'm going to perform real well. I'm going to be very, very aggressive, obviously respectful of the other cars, but I think if my car was anything to go by last night, it's going to allow me to put it into some very tight positions.
I think we have a little video of that yesterday. I was going to mention that National Guard car. Look at it, it's about 4th in the line there. What was going through your mind? This is like a video game.
You know, the opportunities to win don't come by very often, and if you feel you have one, you've got to make sure you put your car in the position where you know, where it's possibly going to be in the race, so you know what it's going to be like. And like I say, I feel that we have something that we can race the big 3 teams with, and you know, there's certainly going to be some more improvements that we have down the road, but this is certainly a race where I think we could potentially get our first win of the season.
When we were talking earlier, I said, were you nervous yesterday at all? Were you scared? I mean, it didn't look like any practice I've ever seen, and you said, I'm never scared. This is your place. You love these ovals, don't you?
Yeah, no, I love it when it's like this. I mean, you know, I feel very confident in a lot of the drivers that I race against. I love going close with Castroneves and Scott Dixon and Tony Kanaan, and you know, I feel I have a very good feel for the race car and how close I can run to other people. And you know, with that being said, you know, I love that aggressive nature racing, and I think tonight's definitely going to suit my style a lot.
And he loves another victory here, taking his 3rd. His first ever IndyCar Series race was right here at Chicagoland. That was a 10th place, Jack.
Well, Scott Dixon has finished up his pre-race debriefings and has run over here. Before you get your driver's suit on, Scott, these plummeting temperatures and the wind, your team made a gear stack change. You are the master of making fuel, and yet in cold temperatures, it's a lot harder. What do you expect tonight?
Yeah, it will be tougher. You know, I think obviously when it is colder, you do burn a lot more, and I think if you're going to go full rich, it's going to make a 3-stop strategy very tight on windows. So, you know, for us, I want to go out and lead, so I want to go burn some fuel. We'll have to see what happens and how you know, tough it is going to be to pass out there tonight. But you know, hopefully one of the 2 target cars can definitely take it to, you know, the Penske 2 up front, which is going to be difficult. But you know, until we get out there, we're not really going to know what it's like.
Let me ask you this. You know, a week ago you were on top of the world, and then things just didn't turn out the way you would hope. As you get down less and less races, does that last? Is that a lasting memory, or is it easy to flush that away and say, this is now, that was last week?
You're only as good as your last race, and unfortunately last one was not so good. So we definitely got to bounce back. You know, we've slipped, I think, 21 points out of the lead behind Briscoe now. 3 races, what do we got, 156 points or more still on the table. So, you know, we can definitely bring it back, and I think the 3 races that are remaining are
definitely ones that we've done well at in the last few years. So I'm definitely looking forward to trying to go for another championship, and I just hope it goes to one of the target cars.
You know, we talked about when you won the championship last year, the lessons that you learned from losing the championship the year previous. Now you've got the guy that beat you. He's your teammate. He has a mathematical shot at things, yada, yada. You know where I'm headed here. How do you make all that work and roll the dice and come up aces tonight?
Well, you know, I think the biggest thing for me now is to beat the Penske car. So Ryan, I think, is definitely one of my targets, and I know it's going to be the same for Dario. So, you know, without beating him, none of us are going to win. So I think that's the biggest thing. He's obviously got the pole. We got the extra point. He's making our life pretty tough, and as long as we keep focused on beating, you know, Briscoe, I think, you know, one of us could end up there. So, you know, however, which way it goes, I don't mind as long as it's one of us two.
One thing I know about this guy, Bob, he likes to be in the thick of things, and he likes to go after it.
And he is one of 4, of course, mathematically eligible for the championship, although it's really down to the top 3. But every driver is hoping to move up for just a little bit more bonus money. Lindy Thaxton will be here in our next segment. When we come back, we'll talk with Ed Carpenter, who'll start 12th tonight. He came within 16 thousandths of a second of winning at Kentucky earlier this month.
Chicago, but let's flash back to Sonoma. Conquest Racing's Nelson Philippe sideways in the middle of a blind turn there. He was grazed by E.J. Vizo and then hit hard by Penske Racing's Will Power. Both suffered concussions. Will has fractures in his back. Nelson broke his right leg, also injured his left foot. Both today, they are home from the hospital, very sore and resting, but they are in good spirits, and of course we wish them the very best. The IndyCar safety team is on the scene of a crash in seconds, but they play an important role before and after an accident as well. Jan Bikas takes us inside the safety team.
Earlier in the season, we talked about the black box or data recorder on these cars and how that helps for future safety innovations. But the data from this black box played a big part for the medical staff in the treatment of Nelson Philippe and Will Power.
This is actually Will Power's data, and you can see that he took about 125 Gs. Now, we knew that there was a good chance that he had a back fracture when we got him out of the car. The first thing when he became conscious, he complained of severe back pain. But once we saw this, we were fairly certain that he had a fracture of his back. And actually, Terry Trammell, our orthopedic spine doctor, was in Indianapolis and looked at this data and called down to the trauma center and said, he's going to have a back fracture. This is before the CT scan was done. The trauma surgeon there wasn't too impressed, but then when the CT scan came out with 2 back fractures, he thought, well, these guys might know something.
Now that data is so precise that Dr. Terry Trammell not only surmised that he had a broken back, but knew specifically where to look, and he hit it right on the money. Now, if a driver has had a concussion, there's a specific protocol that the medical staff goes through to get him back in the car.
We have a firm rule that if a driver has a concussion, they do not get back in the car for 7 days. And then at 7 days, if they feel that they're good enough to get back in the car and they lack any neurologic symptoms, so we have a baseline that we get in January, which is called the impact test. And this is a well-validated test that tests several different cognitive functions, and we have a baseline on such things as reaction time, short-term memory, spatial memory, color memory, and then we test them again. And we compare those test results to how they did back in January. And drivers will always tell us that they're fine and they're ready to go, so we need to have some type of objective measurement. And if they don't do as well as they did in January, we'll say, yeah, you might think you're ready, but you're not ready.
Keep in mind, there's a minimum of 15 people between the safety team and the medical team looking after IndyCar drivers. And I can tell you from experience, both Robbie Buell and myself, when you're hurting and you're in the car and someone comes to your side, boy, it's great to see a familiar face.
Ryan Briscoe also knows how nice it feels to see that familiar face. About 4 years ago, Ryan was involved in a horrific crash on the backstretch here at Chicagoland Speedway. Driving the number 33 car for Chip Ganassi that season, Ryan had wheel-to-wheel contact with Alex Barron, sending Ryan airborne over Barron and into the Chicagoland fence. Ryan was released from a local hospital more than a week later with both clavicles broken. 4 years later, he is the points leader, and in just a second season driving for Roger Penske, Ryan's in the hunt for his first IndyCar title. Now, if you were to meet Ryan, you'd probably never guess that this friendly Australian has a knack for rugby. Well, we wanted to check out the guy's rugby skills, so we sent Robbie Floyd into a scrum with the points leader.
this is your country's sport, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have Little League baseball, soccer, football, but this is it for you, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we've got rugby union, rugby league, but when I went to high school, I played rugby union and loved the game. I mean, there's a lot of strategy in it. It's very physical, you know, and I really enjoyed it a lot.
You weren't one of the biggest guys in your group. I mean, you had to go, oh my gosh, what am I getting myself in?
Yeah, but they'd throw me in. I remember at high school when I was in year 7, and they'd throw me in with like the year 12 guys.
Oh God.
And just have them run at me, and I'd have to tackle them just to, you know, you got to get used to tackling bigger guys. It's just a great game, and it's very flowing and not so much stop and go like NFL. I love NFL as well, but this is my home sport.
Hey, reporter. Driver.
You do a workout, man. We've only done a couple of drills so far.
A little bit of a workout. I know you'd probably like to go out there and really give it a shot, but the second week of October, you're more than happy to come back, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this game. It was great getting a little bit of training in. It's great fitness and everything, and definitely wish the Lions here all the best of luck with their games coming up.
Yeah, we'd like to thank Marty. Marty, you want to come over
Marty.
here?
Hey, we wanted to give you one of our race team jackets from Team Penske.
Really?
So
it's a nice trick.
Yeah, I don't know if.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, but put it up in your wall or something. But
I won't wear it tonight. It might get a little dirty.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit muddy out here today.
For that. Yeah,
no.
If it doesn't work out with the racing, mate, we might have you back.
All right, man. I'll have to beef up a little bit, I think.
Thanks for coming out, boys. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Now that was the fun part. Now it's time to take care of business.
Yeah, that's it. Looking forward to this weekend for sure. Chicago, it's an amazing track. I've had my ups and downs there, but last year was definitely a highlight. One of the highlights of my career, I think. It was just a great race. One of my best oval performances, I think, and. Yeah, I think Saturday night's going to be a good one.
Last oval in the States where we head to Homestead, so good luck today.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Try to hang on to this lead, eh?
Well, you finished third here last year after having the pole. You're ready to bump that up a couple of spots. You like this place because that in practice was unbelievable. I've never seen a car go that fast in so many positions. It looks like your car is dialed.
It's an exciting place. You know, last year was just amazing. We were running 3 wide a lot of the race, and I don't know if any of you saw warm-up last night, but it was pretty wild. We were running 3 wide. It felt like 4 wide at times, but my car was really hooked up. The good thing is it would work in traffic. Hopefully I don't have to deal with too much traffic tonight, but it's always going to be the case at this place. But really looking forward to a good night here.
Until you've been in that situation, you never know how you're going to feel. You've never been in this situation this deep into the season as the points leader. How does it feel?
It feels good. You know, I'm just looking back on the championships I won in the junior categories and stuff, and it's all the same. You know, maybe this is a little more competitive, a little, you know, more prestige, but you know, I know who I'm racing against, and I feel as I've got the current equipment to beat them. And, you know, we've just got to stay focused here in the last 3 and get the job done.
With all the lead changes in the series for that points lead, would you rather be the hunter or would you rather be hunted at this point?
Well, I'd like to have as many points as possible, really. So, you know, I like to be out in front. Hopefully I can extend the lead.
Had to be tough for you last year. Without saying anything, everybody knew that you were there to help your teammate, help him get that victory and maybe gain it. Will you have some help tonight in Helio Castroneves, or is it still his race to try and win as well in his car, in the number 3?
Well, you know, he's racing his own championship too, and it's a bit different. You know, last year this was the championship race, and I was pretty much locked in 5th. I wasn't going anywhere, and he needed to lead all the laps and win the race to have any chance of beating Dixon. So we've still got 3 to go here. There's a long way in the championship, but, you know, you can never plan on how things are going in a race. Maybe if push comes to shove, he'll have my back, but it's not something I'm really relying on.
Spook you a little bit with the weather conditions, kind of changes up that game plan you had set up for yesterday afternoon and last night?
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, the extra cold air gives us a little extra grip once the tyres are up to temperature. But the tricky thing is cold tyres. You know, the green pit stops coming out of the pits, the start of the race, it's going to be pretty slippery out there. The tyres are going to take another lap or 2 to come in. So it's definitely something we're thinking about at the moment.
It's a cold night, around 50 degrees, what they're expecting. So why not warm up? That's what we got stuck with a little earlier. I want you to see, you didn't want to get your shoes wet because it rained earlier this week. We had to jog our way. I think this should be a routine every week.
Yeah, I mean, when it's this cold, you can see I've got my hands in my pockets too. I'm trying to keep my hands warm, but Look at you trying to keep up.
It's not happening. Aussie.
Oi, oi, oi.
Good luck, Ryan.
Drivers relying on the grip and consistency of
And Robbie, Ryan, Scott, and Dario have often raced up front in all 7 oval races this season. Here you're taking a look at the numbers. You can see Briscoe has led the most laps. Dixon has won the most. Briscoe and Dixon have bonus points, by the way, for their poles and the most laps led. And listen, if you're going to beat Ryan Briscoe, you're going to have to be good on pit road. For the last 2 weeks, the number 6 car has been the top Firestone pit performer, meaning that Briscoe and company has spent the least time on pit road during the pit stops. Well, so much has happened with Danica Patrick this season, both on and off the track. Jack Arute sat down with Danica on Thursday for his Candid in Color segment, and that's coming up next.
One thing missing from this room, though, is the Indianapolis 500 trophy. That's my goal.
Danica Patrick will slow, and it looks like she will pull off the track.
Why couldn't I go straight?
Could history be made? Boys, move over. The lady is coming through. Danica Patrick wins a twin ring Motegi.
There had never been an African-American in the Indianapolis 500. Now, Willie T had been there in 1985. He took an attempt at rookie orientation program, but that hadn't worked out. So now it's 6 years later, and he's back. He's driving for Derek Walker, brand new team. They were running V6 Buicks, and they had all kinds of trouble. They kept blowing engines. So it's the final day. He's not in the show, and it really looked like it wasn't going to happen. He'd get stuck at like 2:07, and then during the afternoon, the 2:13s, 2:14s, 2:15s started to come, and at 5:15, under threatening skies, he went out to make a qualifying run. Field was full. Tom Sneever's on the bubble, and Willie takes the green. Willie T takes the green. So, I mean, was he even going to last 4 laps? Because he hadn't been. He takes the checkered. Crowd went crazy, and when Willie T came in after the cool-off lap, I remember him coming down the pit lane, engine shut off very slowly, and somehow or other he'd hoisted himself out of the cockpit like he was running in a soapbox derby car. And he's waving with both hands, and he was high-fiving the crew members as he was rolling down the pit lane. And I remember looking at the crowd up and down the stands, and everybody was going nuts. It was a truly historic moment. First African-American in the Indianapolis 500.
Just a beautiful night in Joliet, Illinois, as we get set for the Peak Antifreeze and Motor Oil Indy 300. We're located about 45 miles south of Chicago. You can see the lights of Chicago off in the distance. Crowd has gathered here on a very uncomfortably cold Saturday night, but hopefully this racing will get them warmed up and they can be on their feet all evening long. 200 laps, 300 miles in the Peak Antifreeze and Motor Oil Indy 300. Here's the command to start engines.
Chicagoland race fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome back the Vice President of Merchandising for Advance Auto Parts, Charles Tyson, as he gives the command.
Ladies and gentlemen, please start your engines.
Row 1 hot. 2 hot. 3 hot. 4 hot. 5 hot. 6 hot. 7 hot. 8 hot. 9, 10 hot. 11 and 12 hot.
And that means that all cars are running. Now, they're doing something a little different because of the cold weather here. They're going to first allow them to warm up a little bit longer here on pit lane, and then an extra warm-up lap.
They originally were scheduled for the 3rd time by to get their green flag. They've added one more lap, and that just makes good common sense. Get a little bit more temperature and pressure. And it's not just about the temperature, Jan. The pressure, that actually, they need that pressure in the sidewall of the tire just so they're not bottoming out as hard as well.
I would expect that when the race does start, we're going to see more sparks and more bottoming than we have seen, because you have to anticipate the tires are still going to get up to full operating temperature. Like you say, Robbie, it just takes longer. So therefore, the first few laps, even with these warm-up laps, look for lots of pyrotechnics.
Dario Franchitti carrying the colors of LifeLock on his car, and so to look for him in yellow. And here's something a little different. Tony Kanaan normally carries, of course, green and white. This week, he is carrying orange and white for the Oscar Mayer Big Bite sponsorship. We have Team Penske up front. I'm bound and determined to put Dario Franchitti in the points lead, but it is indeed Ryan Briscoe who is in the points lead, and he picked up a point yesterday as he won the Peak Pole Qualifying Award and $10,000. Ryan Briscoe and Dario Franchitti both have 4 poles this year. Ray Hall, Castroneves, and Power had 2 each, and Scott Dixon was on the pole at Kentucky with the starting lineup determined by owner points. All right, here comes the lineup. We've got 23 cars strong. 3 of the 8 races have been won from the pole position here. Remember last year, Elio, because he went below the white line on the backstretch during qualifying, he was sent to the rear of the field and came home to win the race.
And he also led the most laps. So even though you got to want to qualify at the front, the guys in the back, can they get up and win this race and lead laps? You bet.
I don't think there's a person that we've talked to, Robbie, that didn't say, you know, I didn't qualify quite as quickly as I wanted to, but I got a good race car.
That's
all the way
theme.
all the way through the car's great in the race. So if everybody's got a great race car, we're up for a great race.
The only reason you would not want to start in the back is the possibility of something happening up front between you and the leaders, but we'll hope that doesn't happen all evening. Jack Arute on pit lane.
Well, guys, look, there's no question that the weather is going to be a critical factor in the performance for all these teams tonight. In fact, Jan, as you talked about in your on camera, it's going to be starts and restarts. Now, that may give an advantage to a guy like Tony Kanaan, who makes his living clipping off 3 or 4 cars on a restart. But I talked to a lot of the crews, and I talked to the Firestone engineers. They say these tires could take as much as 2 full laps on starts and restarts to come up to full heat and pressure. So what's the winning combination? The strategy tonight? Well, I think it's real simple. You got to stay with the lead pack. That's number one. And if you do that and you draft and you're not leading, you're going to be able to maybe make some fuel. Why do you want to make fuel? Because this is a 4-stop race with the way it shakes out. And that means what you want to do is count backwards. What you want to do is short pit that last final stop. Why? Because you'll be able to change the tires faster than you can fill it full of fuel. If you don't have to fill it full because you've pitted last, it may take you to victory lane. Guys, Lindy?
Well, Jack, 4 guys vying for this points title, 2 sets of teammates. Elio's 4th. He says it'd take a lot of luck for him to pull this out. He says if he cannot win, he does all that he can to help Ryan Briscoe. Dario and Scott say the same thing. They all say that is just what teammates do, Robbie.
Well, some tough times for the McDonald's team leaving Sonoma. They're hoping that may play in their favor. You remember last year when it was just before Sonoma, the Penske truck caught on fire? Well, this year, the hauler for the McDonald's teams, both of them broke down. Mike Rogers, truck driver, his truck broke down in Nebraska. Dean Brum, the truck driver, broke down in Nevada. Both guys got their trucks going. Eventually, they were late coming into Chi-Town, and they're hoping that maybe, just like with Penske, their drivers can finish 1 and 2 here tonight.
Graham Ray Hall starts from 5th position, getting those tires warmed up. Now here is the overtake assist situation. You have 20 pushes, 12 seconds, and there is a 10-second recharge time. And we have seen that work very, very well at other ovals, including Kentucky earlier this month.
And of course, it's a 5 horsepower gain, which doesn't sound like much, but on a flat out oval, as we saw in Kentucky, that was just enough to help somebody. That's why it's called overtake assist. Helps you finish the pass.
1 to go, and we will be under green. Sarah Fishel starts her final race in this car. She's going to have the new backup at Homestead Miami Speedway. Ed Carpenter wanting to move up just one position from his finish at Kentucky. He came oh so close to winning that event. Dan Weldon driving for Panther Racing here at Chicagoland for the first time since 2001. He started 7th and finished 10th. Marco Andretti finished 8th here last year, but's never led a lap at Chicagoland Speedway. Tony Kanaan will carry an onboard, is winless this year. He won at least one race in the last 6 straight seasons. And Ryan Briscoe is our pole sitter. Finished 2nd again last Sunday afternoon at Infineon. Well, the field getting lined up. This should be good, folks. Settle back, relax, and have a good evening of racing. Let's hope it's a safe one as they come down and get the Apex Brazil green flag.
Commitment and intensity. Tony Kanaan going high. As Jack made reference to, he's one guy that always likes to make up spots on cold tires. He's a master of it.
Dario in 3rd under Kanaan.
Look at those sparks, just as forecast.
Off the 4th corner into the tri-oval. And lap number 1 is led by Briscoe, then Castroneves. Franchitti, Kanaan running side by side, and back there is Dixon and Rahal. On board with Kanaan looking over at Dario.
A lot of grip all throughout this racetrack. We will see guys 3 wide and even 4 wide, and part of that is there's a lot of grip all the way through this racetrack. Kentucky was wide just like Chicago, but I think there's a little bit more grip out here, so it just creates the opportunity for these guys to challenge even higher on the racetrack.
First lap was 203, second lap 212 miles an hour. Temperatures are coming up on the tires, and we've got a battle up front as Elio looks to the high side of Brian, but ducks back inside.
It looks so calm just looking back out there, doesn't it? Remember the speed these guys are doing. That kind of lulls us into it, but they are getting after it, and it's going to be that way for 200 laps.
7 cars running right together on the racetrack.
Now, we have talked about cold tires. Look at this, ducking and weaving up and down. And at the start, it was definitely a case for Rafael Matos on the right side of the screen. He'll just come into the picture. Number 2, he gets below the white line, and a big wiggle. He manages to save it, and everybody gets through clean. But boy, until they come up, it's dicey.
3 wide into turns 1 and 2. That's Weldon behind Andretti. Now Weldon alongside Marco through the 3rd and 4th corners. Ed started in 12th position and is now running 6th. So Carpenter is hoping to have another good run just like he did at Kentucky. Oh, almost touching wheels. Dixon and Kanaan.
And Scott Dixon, to me, hadn't been all that racy, hadn't been quite as sharp as you'd expect, but right now that car looks good. He's by himself up there on the top. Carpenter had to lift to not get sucked in too close.
Yeah, and remember, Scott Dixon was one of the cars that decided to make a last-second gear stack change. They saw the wind, and you see him coming up on Tony Kanaan. That's exactly why they made that change. As he goes to the outside and initiates and completes the pass and brings Ed Carpenter along. They decided that with the drop in the temperature, but the increase in the wind, they went in a different direction. Remember, that's why he was late to his interview.
And it's amazing, right as you were talking, Jack, the reason he lost that spot was he had to lift and grab a gear.
Sure did.
So you're talking about gear stack. At the very same time, he had to take a different gear, and he just got blown by.
Yeah, and when they started this race, I mean, they didn't know what gear package they needed. We haven't run in this kind of wind, so it absolutely is a guess, and it looks like the Dixon crew, they guessed perfect in terms of what that gear stack is that they wanted at that last minute.
He hasn't shown anywhere near this kind of speed all weekend, but you know when it comes to these kind of racetracks in a championship, look at him come.
Now Dixon looks to the high side of Briscoe, wanting the lead. Off the 2nd corner and down the backstretch. Falls in behind Ryan. Now he'll make a move up top.
And you notice less sparks. And that means the tires are coming up to pressure and temperature. You see a few here and there. That means these cars are getting racy.
So Dixon's just going to keep working on Briscoe right now. He's just going to kind of see where his strengths are. He's going to keep poking up a little bit on the high side there to just get clean air, but they're just sizing each other up right now.
Tony Kanaan now looks to the high side of Ed Carpenter. Mario Marias and Graham Rahal are running side by side behind Tony Kanaan. First 15 cars separated by less than 2 seconds. You'll see it if it happens on IndyCar nonstop. Right now it's Briscoe leading Dixon and Franchitti. Lead pack consists of 16 cars and they're running within 1 second of each other. Here's the situation up front. Ryan Briscoe leads. Scott Dixon is second. Dario Franchitti third, and Ed Carpenter looking for a position. Now here comes the second pack, and that's led by Ryan Hunter-Reay on board with Marco Andretti.
And if you watch his steering wheel, you could see that when he comes off of these corners, look how high he's getting. But when he gets into a tailwind on the other side of the racetrack, if we can stay on here, you'll see he has to grab another gear as soon as these indicators right up at the top of the wheel will start to illuminate. There's a gear.
And Marco wants a good finish so bad. Yesterday I looked at his feet, noticed he had on a red shoe and a blue shoe. I said, Marco, I've never noticed that before. Do you always do that? He said, no, but I am trying anything at this point to have a great finish.
Well, Marco started in the 7th spot, and he's fallen back right now to the 15th. So obviously there's something he's still trying to get a handle on with his race car, whether it's balance, gearing, I don't know.
We've seen the same thing with Tony Kanaan, that when you have to start grabbing gears, people go by you. So those who chose that right gear stack that Jack was talking about very early on seems to be on the keys. Now, Scheckter up high. He's been making a move, likes to run and makes big moves and likes to do it high.
And Schechter's one of those guys, when I said at the top of the show, just you have to have that confidence with the race car to take it to another spot where maybe you don't like it very much and the car slides, but you just got to trust it and catch it. Schechter's a guy that's in the category. He knows how to drive the car that hard.
He's taken 10th position from Danica Patrick.
And Thomas Scheckter talked to him. I mean, this is a guy who's led 114 total laps at this racetrack alone, a two-time IndyCar Series winners, as he's battling it out with Danica Patrick. I asked him, I said, is this going to be the place, with it being cold and everybody kind of, tentative on the start, is this a place that you can really push on the start? And he said, I really don't think so, because everybody's going to be flat out here. I can usually do that in the places where he will have that option to let off. Here, I don't think they have that option. So even though he's moved up 3 and sometimes 4 spots, I think he's just picking them off one at a time, and everything's going according to his game plan.
And he does have just that game plan. I talked to him right when he got out of the car after that crazy last practice we had yesterday. And I said, how are things? He's like, everything's good, good. I'm like, okay, I don't need to ask you anything more. I mean, just a quick snapshot, good.
He's running with Mario Marias in the KB Racing Technology number 5 car. Marias running in 9th.
But boy, he put the chop to Danica Patrick right when Robbie Floyd, when we both went, whoa, because when you pass somebody, that's why you have the spotters telling you clear. They might have told him clear a little bit early, because he definitely took the air off the front of Danica's car.
Spotters are just a tool. The drivers are there. They're the ones driving, making decisions. The spotters are just information.
Objects are closer than they appear.
Spotters, it's very good information. They need to help look ahead and tell the drivers what's going on. But, at the end of the day, it's the guy in the cockpit that's, chopping, not chopping, doing what he needs to do.
Mario Marias.
And he has been a rocket ship since he rolled. His cars just look fast here since he rolled off in that Azul car for KV Racing.
That's Oriol Servia, who he's running with.
Look at that progression in speed.
Yeah, 3 miles an hour in 3 laps.
Remember, you're not lifting around this racetrack. You are just hammered flat down, and you are trying to carry that momentum everywhere. If you're lifting, like when we were riding on board with Kanaan, and he lifted off the gas, zing, zing, guys went right by him. So you want to run flat all day long.
Ryan Briscoe leads his 11th race this season, the most of any driver. Hot on his heels is Scott Dixon, as 26 of 200 laps have been completed. This race and then 2 more will end the season. Next will be on September 18th at 10:30 Eastern Time. The Indy Japan 300 from Twin Ring Motegi. Another step toward the 2009 championship. That's, of course, where Danica Patrick won her one and only race last year. It's part of Versus Red, White, Black, and Blue Summer. There is Danica live, and she is currently running in 16th position.
She's been falling back, as has Tony Kanaan. Of course, their teammates, that was a close moment between Marias and Graham Rahal, but the Andretti green cars, at least those two for Kanaan and Patrick, we heard that Tony Kanaan is having some push.
There's watch Marias right now. He's got to run down below the apron. Wow. There's such a transition when you go below that white line. It really pulls that steering wheel. So a great job from Marias to keep his composure. You know, remember, 20-year-old kid. He's been fast all year, but we've seen him make some mistakes out there. So great composure.
Now he could have. He had a choice there. Could you back off or just go?
No, back off. No. If you're not in the points, why are we backing off? Unless you can't.
Hypothetically, you have 2 choices, and he chose to keep it hammered, which is good.
We understand the 0-2 car. Graham Rahal got a warning for that little move he put on Marias. As we see Justin Wilson up top of Tony Kanaan, and Kanaan, as Jan said, is fighting a understeer, a push in the car, and he has dropped back all the way to, let's see, 10th spot.
So we're looking back off of TK's car here. Jan, go ahead and circle. You see what I see on here? Those C-scoops. You have the wheel infills, and another option, these optional packages where these guys have 300 pounds more downforce, is that C-scoop that adds a little bit more downforce and grip to the car. He also is running wheel kickups. That's where Jan squared those boxes. Those kickups give about another 120 pounds of downforce. And from a quick scan up and down pit road, it looks as though the Penske cars are not running the wheel ramps or kickups. And that's right there. We'd be able to see the top of them right in front of the tires, and we don't see them. So they're the only cars that I've ID'd out here, Jan, that don't have those kickups.
Nor C-scoops either.
Nor C-scoops.
Guys, as you watch Ryan Briscoe and Scott Dixon try to put some distance on Dario Franchitti, watch the way Dixon is running, right tucked up behind. I just checked, and I'm watching, and even though he pulls out a little bit, he is trying to make fuel. This is one of the things that right now Mike Hall and Scott Dixon are trying to do. Not because they need to right now, other than they want to see if they can get one extra lap. Remember, Mike Hall likes to count backwards from lap 200. They want to do their R&D right now. That's why he's not going for the lead.
Ryan Briscoe with just a slight advantage on Scott Dixon as 39 laps have been completed. Third is Franchitti, followed by Carpenter and Castro Neves. Chicagoland Speedway, the 3 championship contenders are running first, second, and third. Pit stops are being made. Green flag pit stops. Ryan Hunter-Reay has completed his. He lights up the tires and gets back on the racetrack.
And for a driver, there's Ryan just getting out of pit road where it was 60 miles an hour. When you go on that flat, bumpy section, there's no banking out of here, and the tires are cold now to pressure. That is the most challenging thing for a driver. And nerve-wracking because you can't give anything away under green flag racing. That's a tough deal in cool conditions.
E.J. Viso also making a pit stop. Here comes the lead pack to go around Ryan Hunter-Reay. And there is Sarah Fisher in the Dollar General car with her pit stop. Ethanol being pumped in, and Mike Conway is also on pit lane. TK hopefully will get some of that push out of the car.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see if they maybe go for a little bit of wing change here in the front of that car.
If you had a push, you would want to add front wing.
We'll find out if they did adjust that. We'll keep an eye on them.
Okay, they've done it with tire pressures or...
Oh, it looks like Marco's having a tough time getting away.
Did they get the hose on that, or did he just kind of stumble getting out?
I think he just stumbled.
Yeah, I saw that gun back there.
Yeah, there goes.
Look at this. That's racing right there. Even though they're on pit lane, that's coming out of pit road. That's where I was just talking about, on cold tires.
Ryan Briscoe, the leader of the race, drops down onto the apron of the racetrack, and he comes down for his first scheduled pit stop on lap number 48, down to Lindy Thaxton.
In comes Ryan Briscoe as we still wait to see Dario and Scott Dixon come down pit lane. And boy, talk about the pressure on the pit crews of the guys who are in the fight for this championship points race. As we said before, Briscoe's crew has won the race on pit road the last 2 races he's in, getting his tires and fuel. Roger Penske telling him several times in his first stint, great job, Ryan, keep it up. Robbie?
And outside front and crew chief Brett Schmidt, he's been pumping up his crew. They want that same kind of response they had out of his team at Kentucky. Looks like no changes for number 20, Ed Carpenter's back out with a new set of Firestone Firehawks. And just in front of him is the 06 Point Oriole Serbia. But look at Helio Castroneves with his first round of pit stop.
And we saw Scott Dixon also drop down into the apron of the racetrack, and Helio is away lighting up the tires. And here is Dixon.
And once again, Dixon's gone a little bit longer than his competition out there, just stretching that window.
Right behind him is Dario Franchitti, his teammate. Here's Dixon's stop.
Dario's going to pit ahead of him. They both were able to save fuel by not running in the front. That's going to be helpful later. Easily beats Franchitti out. And here comes to the start-finish line. Both the two Penske cars are just flashing by start-finish line, but he's not up to speed yet.
There we see Franchitti rolling out of pit road. There's a yellow car. The Penske cars with a head of steam. They're going to get him. They're going to get him.
But they haven't caught Scott yet. Scott's just going into turn 3.
But remember, they've been on track now for a couple laps. Their tires are up to pressure, up to temperature. A pretty good gap. They're going to close in on there. But they're not going to go by Dixon. He got the position.
That is a benefit of going a couple laps. We've seen that so many times. If you can ride around and save some fuel, as Jack Rudin said earlier, that pays big dividends. You run faster, longer on hot tires.
Marco in a lot of traffic. That's Rafa Matos up ahead of him.
There's Marco in the Meyer car. Did you notice how high he was? He just poked up a little bit higher than everybody else.
Well, he's been running up there all night long.
Yeah, absolutely. He loves it up high.
We pointed out that Marco appeared to have problems getting out of his pit box. Let's take a look at the stop.
Waiting on the fuel.
Just a little hesitation with pulling that fuel probe out. Thankfully, they held him. He didn't tear out of there while the guy was still engaged. That's when we see those horrific incidents, you know, guys tearing that thing and dragging the fuel hose down the pit lane.
Here's 5th, 6th, 7th on back.
See how this is back on board with Marco. Look at in the corner. He just likes to be up a little bit higher than everybody else.
Look at this pack.
Whew.
Carpenter is leading that pack. He is in 5th position. Schechter right behind him in 6th. 7th is Kanaan, and he's racing alongside Mario Moraes.
It'll be interesting to see what Kanaan's got here, because we know he had a push in the car earlier on and was having to lift off the gas. Let's see if he can run a little bit faster.
Dixon's in-lap right there in the middle. 2:14.2. Woo! That's where he came.
And that's where he is leading this race, because of that in-lap speed. Challenging it, coming down off the banking in turn 3, hitting the flat. That's beyond just going for the win here. I mean, to be able to push it like that when you're driving for the championship, you know, there's no caution. He's just flat out getting after it.
They're too wide all the way through the corner.
Guys, I want to take you back to little things. All the teams that made those green flag pit stops. Now watch Oriole Serbia when they drop the jack. He lights up those Firestone Firehawk tires more aggressively than you would under normal circumstances. Why? Because of the plummeting temperatures. We're at 60 degrees ambient temperature. They want to build as much pressure as they can. All the drivers talked about it with their crews before they made those green flag stops.
Wow, intense racing, and here is a battle up front. Dixon to the bottom, Briscoe on the high side.
Now, why doesn't Briscoe learn a lesson from Dixon saying, I don't really need to pass you. Why don't I ride behind you and pay you back and save fuel like you did to me on the first stint?
And gain that lap back under fuel.
Yeah.
But he wants to lead the race.
Well, good for him.
He wants to get the couple points there is for doing that. Or maybe he's just sizing it up on the high side for what he thinks is going to come the last 10 laps of this event.
I would say Briscoe wants to lead this thing. He already hit the overtake, and he's done it yet again, and still Dixon was able to get the better of him there for a moment.
First 4 cars, 5 cars within a 4 cars within a half second of each other.
So that tells us if you're running equal somebody on the high side and you go for that overtake button, you can't get the pass done unless
you have help, because he's got his wingman coming up behind. Here comes Castro Neves. He said before the race, in pre-race, I don't know if I can count on help. He's getting help right now. That will help him get by Dixon.
So does he go for another push of the overtake button right now to get that done?
Yeah, he's
Robbie, yes, he did. Yes, he did. 20 seconds of added horsepower right now.
But he's not getting it. I mean, he's not there. Dixon's just staying right there at his left rear.
Dixon's now going to get some help. Here comes Franchitti. It's the battle of the 2 teammates. Like, hang on a minute. If Briscoe's getting help, I'll come help you.
And if you're Carpenter back in this whole next pack that's further back, they love to see these guys all side by side, because when you're running side by side, you can't run as fast as you're single groove racing. So there's Carpenter. He's got a whole group behind him, and he's looking up ahead and saying, those guys are coming on back there.
There you go. Oh, baby.
It looked like he had such a peaceful ride out there going out the front, didn't it? Till you went back.
Carpenter about 4 seconds behind these 4, running wheel to wheel for the lead. Once again, you won't miss a thing on IndyCar Nonstop on Versus. Stay with us for more at Chicagoland. 6 laps completed in the peak antifreeze and motor oil Indy 300 from Chicagoland Speedway in Joliet, Illinois. A great battle up front involving Ryan Briscoe, Scott Dixon, Elio Castroneves, and Dario Franchitti. And Franchitti heads to the high side of Elio. Meanwhile, there's a 4-second gap back to Ed Carpenter, who's running 5th. Mario Moraes is behind him. Andretti has moved up nicely. Remember, we've talked about him using that high lane, and it's worked for him.
And here we are looking at that group you just talked about, Bob, from TK's view. A lot going on in front of him. We've been riding on board with him a little bit, and we still hear him have to use the throttle on and off. And he's going to get a run up on these guys. And now listen to the throttle. He's going to have to back off. Hear him get in there and back off the throttle. He just doesn't have anywhere to go. And I think he still has a car that's pushing up the racetrack just a little bit. That means that the front tires just aren't staying on the white line like he'd like it.
Boy, these guys have been wheel to wheel, side by side for many, many laps. In fact, since the pit stops. Aerodynamically, you want to be single file so you can cut into that 4-second advantage that there is between 4th and 5th. But these guys aren't really doing that, are they?
No. You think you can get that thought process across right now? I don't think so.
They're not exactly working together, and they would need to. And Tony Kanaan had to have another lift there. And boy, you can see from that high shot how you lose that momentum. But here comes Danica.
On the low side.
Guys, when I went to the drivers' meeting, Brian Barnhart was actually backing up what you said. He said, guys, you're going to go faster. If you're in that second group and you get dropped, you'll go faster if you're all in a straight line. So obviously these guys didn't listen to Brian Barnhart. But the man leading that charge, Ed Carpenter, came on the radio just a moment ago and asked Jeff Britton, what are these guys in front of me running? What's their speed? Jeff told him it's about the same. So curiosity might be killing the cat right now in Ed Carpenter.
Marco Andretti had to come in. Turns out at that last pit stop, they only got a half tank of fuel in his car, so he had to come in because they told him, Marco, you cannot use that overtake assist when you come in 8.4 seconds, he's out.
Yeah, we kind of thought that there was some problem there on his initial pit stop, and that answers the question. So Andretti loses all those spots that he made up, running up there on the top side of the racetrack.
And it's absolutely frustration from a driver when that happens. But you can never give up. He's got to get back out there, run as hard as he can. Hopefully a yellow will come here, work to his advantage, and he can kind of sequence back up to gain his lap back. But you never give up.
Good battle for second. Elio on the high side of Scott Dixon. They are running at 214 plus miles an hour.
And they're catching some traffic. These cars are on the tail end of the lead lap, and this is going to make things interesting. They don't want to go down a lap, but the leaders are much faster.
And you got Conway side by side there on the high side. going to make it tough. Look at him, look on the high side out there. Look at Elio outside of Hunter Ray. Up top big time.
Way up high. That's one thing much different about Kentucky versus Chicagoland. You can easily, I mean, it's wild, but you can run 3 grooves if you have to, and he's going to do it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. You got E.J. Vizo and Conway just side by side. Neither of them are giving off, so this lead pack's going to have to go to the high lane to get by him.
And Briscoe has done so. Now here comes Dixon.
And that's as high as Scott Dixon has been all day. So he was like, I hope I got grip up there, because he was running on the low side any chance he could get. I don't think his car likes it up there.
No, look at, you would have thought Dixon would have just kind of carried momentum by those guys, but now he's slotting in, and he needs to use the draft off of EJ there just to keep the momentum going.
Watching to see if he used overtake. That would be an ideal opportunity to use overtake, and he's not. He feels he's got the pace without it, but I think you want to take advantage of this while you have a shot. Not that Castro Neves is really going to get away.
77 laps completed. We're on lap number 78, and now Dario will move up on the high side of Scott Dixon, or at least take a look up there.
Yeah, originally came along and kind of gave a little push to Scott, but had enough momentum to say, hey, what do I got up top here?
If your car is how you like it low, when you go high, the engineers tell me they loosen up. So if his car is dialed for the low line, he doesn't look comfortable to me as soon as he has to go high.
And I got to tell you guys that what's going on right now, all of your top 3 guys, including, well, let's add Dario Franchitti in third and Briscoe, they're all venturing to that high side for one reason. They know they're going to have to eventually get there. And even though they don't feel like their cars are stable there, their spotters have told them, and their tacticians have told them, got to go up there and take a look at it. That's exactly what they're doing now in this race traffic, getting a feel.
Yeah. And they need to get that field, just like you said, Jack. They're going to come along other groups of cars where they're going side by side, and they got to figure out what kind of car and what balance they have on that high side.
Now, every once in a while, when there's 3 grooves, the sandwich closes. You try and shoot the gap. And that's what happened to Tony Kanaan not too long ago. He tried to slice his way between 2 cars. The Oscar Mayer big bite all of a sudden didn't like the look of that. Whoa, I'm getting out of there. That's too tight.
That's not my kind of sandwich. There you heard it, just rolling into the corner. You know, it's one thing to be brave, and then there's one thing to sit back and say, I know that's not a good spot for me to be.
Remember earlier I said you do have an option to lift, and
Well,
you
sure
jumped
you
up.
do.
You see,
But that was with Mario Moraes. He had a whole head of steam. He just dropped down below it. There's different scenarios to it.
Elio Castroneves leads here at Chicagoland Speedway over Scott Dixon, Franchitti, Briscoe, and Ed Carpenter. 82 laps completed. Versus and live coverage of the Indycar race at Chicagoland Speedway. 2009, most cautions occurred at Indy. 8, fewest, 1 at Edmonton and Kentucky. We have had no cautions tonight, and the average race speed with 87 laps completed, 210.134 miles an hour. E.J. Viso is on pit lane.
Those who pitted early first time around are destined to pit early second time around. So the order up front on the left of your screen will be interesting, because we certainly saw that Briscoe and Castroneves were on a much earlier cycle than the Target boys.
And it will be interesting to see. I mean, we saw what a brilliant job Dixon did to gain the lead of this race because of his in-lap. It was smoking fast. So amongst these 4, it will be neat to see where they cycle back out. And I'm really amazed. This group of 4 of the Penske and Ganassi cars, they've pulled out 8 seconds back to that second group that's being led by Carpenter. So they're eking away.
Mike Conway comes in, and the Dad's Root Beer sponsored machine finding his pit box.
Unfortunately, he gone a lap down during that battle, but Boy, the one thing about Mike Conway is he pushed, he ran low. We got to see Scott Dixon run high, and that showed us something for the end of the race.
Dixon now right on the rear wing, and we have a caution. And Hideki Muto is in the wall. Boy, the back end of that car is heavily damaged.
So this now equalizes all the leaders. Anyone who just pitted, that hurt them. But all the leaders who did not pit, it doesn't matter if you're saving fuel or not, everyone's going to hit the pit road. Of course, if you save fuel, you might spend a little less time on pit road, but it'll equalize now the strategy.
So refresh me, was that Mike Conway that just pitted? So
yeah,
it's not a good thing there, is it, guys?
That's not good.
Yeah.
Elio is the leader as the caution comes out here for the very first time. And the Delphi safety crew at the car of Hideki Muto. Here's a replay.
There we see him already in the wall, already sideways.
That was early.
Yeah, real early on the entry. Just sliding there.
You know, the farther you go and the more things that fly off the car, the better. That means it's dissipating energy, and thankfully he's climbing out on his own power. But the farther you go, the better.
A little bit of a limp getting out of the car, but it looks like he's okay as now the pit crews.
So much for that idea of watching green stops to see where the Penske and Ganassi guys sorted out with their in-laps and out-laps.
This pays best dividends for Penske because we believe that the Target Ganassi team was on a better fuel strategy certainly by the first stint. So now this equalizes it, and that plays in their favor.
Exactly. It brings it back to square one. That little advantage they had where Dixon went further is now squashed.
Well, let me interject here for 1 second, guys. Remember that all these tacticians, what they're doing is they're counting back from lap 200. So Tim Cindric may say, wow, we can get back and we're going to gain on Dixon and Franchitti. But he also knows right in his own mind now that Helio Castroneves couldn't make the same amount of fuel as Dixon and Franchitti, and it cost him an extra lap. When we get down to that final pit stop, that's when it's going to be crunch time.
Agreed, Jack, but it doesn't mean you couldn't find a way to make some better fuel. You knew that in stint one you got beat, but that's why they're down there running the calculators to see, okay, they got us on fuel at the moment. Let's figure out how we get back at them.
Well, we know Elio's great on the high side because he smoked those guys when they went by traffic. When I say smoked those guys, I'm referring to Dixon and Briscoe in terms of the way he got by the traffic there to go to the lead.
Farthest we have gone at Chicagoland Speedway before the first caution flag prior to tonight was 87 laps in 2004, and our first waved on lap 93 tonight. So we are very close to the halfway point of this race already. And a lot of debris on the racetrack over in turns 1 and 2 where the crash occurred.
This is a good opportunity. We saw that Marco came in a little bit ago to get fuel because they didn't get enough fuel in. So at least now he can stay out on the track, get his lap back. Now he doesn't have a full tank of fuel.
Right.
You know, he's going to need something else to help him later, but at least now he's back in sequence with being on the lead lap.
At the tail end of the lead lap, yes. So when he stays out, he'll get the wave by. And it's helpful.
It's helpful.
Certainly, I mean, he was not looking good if they stayed green in that circumstance.
Yeah, so he's got that back. Again, he can't go the length of everybody else once they cycle into the pits right now, but you're not fighting for your lap back anymore.
When they do hit pit road, I think it's worth saying that you just need to make a clean stop. You know what, if you gain a position or lose one at this point, I don't think it really matters. And let's also remember, maybe this is finally what we need for Ed Carpenter to close that gap between the first group and the second group.
Point.
Then we can have not just 4 cars, but everybody.
5, 6, 7. Who knows?
Yeah, Carpenter's guys did a great job in the pit box at Kentucky.
There are your top 3 on the left part of your screen as everybody finds his pit box. Elio the first to arrive of the 3.
Incredibly important to hit your marks so your right front tire changer doesn't have to move his position.
7.3 for Elio, and the same for Dixon, and Franchitti just a little bit slower, but still gets out third. And here comes Ed.
That was Briscoe that had trouble.
Yep.
Yeah. Remember I said, oh, you just want to get in and out clean. But there was something that went amiss with Briscoe. How many did he lose?
He lost 4 spots.
Oh, and Weldon is stopped on pit lane. This doesn't look good. The National Guard car appears to be silent.
Looks like another maybe
Looking at an axle.
Yep, an axle.
Half shaft.
And with Briscoe, the fueler did not look very happy when we were watching him in this pit stop, so that could have been the problem there. When Briscoe came in, he did ask for a half turn of the front wing. He has not been saying much this race, but Roger Penske has. You see him pull out there right now. Roger has told him, keep your head in this, Ryan. You've got plenty of time, and be careful when you are driving that low line out there.
Too far away.
Yeah, did you see how tight the fuel hose was on that? And did you see the orange mark where his left rear was supposed to be? He was a good 1.5 feet away from there.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
Weldon out of the car. The only 2-time winner in tonight's field has given it up.
Remember Jack was saying that you want to... There he can see the axle. There's a problem. Remember Jack said earlier you really want to aggressively light up the tires. Well, in this case, it broke the axle.
All right, under caution here at Chicagoland Speedway, nearing the halfway point. Scott Dixon is now the leader. Dixon and Castro Neves running 1-2 under caution here at Chicagoland Speedway. Ryan Briscoe dropped all the way back to 8th spot.
This is the discussion after the pit stop, which you can see confirmation that when Ryan Briscoe didn't get close enough, that if the fueler can't get fully engaged.
All right, watch as he pulls in, now Matt Glass is the fueler. He looks, he thinks it's seated, he's not sure. See how he lifts up his tinted visor? Wants to get in and make sure and see it's close. It is stretched as far as he can go. In fact, that's why he wasn't sure that he could get it seated. He was way beyond what they call the spotting tape there. So that was a tough spot. Now go on board. Now watch Glass. See, he's not sure. See how tinted it is? See how stretched it is and how far away he is from the spot tape down by the outside, by the inside tire? But he's already lifted the visor up. Now it's just futility. Get as much in there as you can. And boy, there is frustration. One thing when you're in a championship chase, guys, it's one thing about the driver and about the tactician, but every single member of a pit crew, all they do, even though they work for about 108 seconds in a race, they say, please don't let me be the guy to screw the pooch.
And with that fuel rig, Jack, you know, the pit guys, they can put the fuel rig where it sits on the other side of the wall, wherever they want. They want it to be as tight a line as it can be when it's come from the tank to the car, so it's not traveling any extra line through there. But to make that work, you have to hit your spots.
Yeah, and he was off, by my estimation, by about a foot on that spot.
Yeah.
All right, Scott Dixon warms up the tires, getting set for the restart. Dixon has led 14 laps of 99. This is the 10th race that he has led this year. He's led 7 of 8 ovals. The only oval he has failed to lead at was Texas. There's Elio Castro Neves running in 2nd position for Team Penske. 3rd is Dario Franchitti running the yellow colors for LifeLock this weekend. Back in 4th position is Ed Carpenter,
who finally has closed the gap.
Yep. Driving for Vision Racing. Behind him is Thomas Scheckter, who has moved up 9 positions since the start of the race. Mario Moraes is having a good run. He's 6th for KB Racing Technology. And there is Rafa Matos.
Rafa Matos, another one of those guys that is in the Rookie of the Year contention. He needs to show his stuff here on the 1.5 mile speedway.
And the green flag comes out, and we are back to racing at Chicagoland.
And the next car in line was Ryan Briscoe, so he's got a lot of ground to make up. And Robbie, you are correct. You want to keep that fuel hose as short as possible. The longer the fuel hose is, there's more friction. It flows faster if you don't. And that bit him this time, but because of where he stopped.
Well, you just like to see guys like Scheckter and Marias have a good run here tonight. They are wheel to wheel at the moment. Wow.
Yeah. They did that on cue for you, Bob.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And Carpenter now just coming to the frame. Carpenter is able to stay with Franchitti.
But look up front. We have a battle as Elio tries to grab the lead from Scott.
And that's what you want to do to help your teammate. He knows that Briscoe's trying to play catch-up. He's like, I got to get ahead of Dixon to slow him down.
Yeah, no, but that's even though the fact they're running side by side, it's going to slow that pack down for Briscoe to come along, but it's also going to let Carpenter and the rest of those guys get up there as well.
Castro Neves might need some help, and I guarantee you that Dario Franchitti's not going to help him. Dario Franchitti's going to stay low and help Dixon, so someone may have to go high to help Castro Neves.
They're coming.
Maybe it'll be Marias.
Yeah, it might be Marias.
I tell you, last year, Ed Carpenter running fourth there, we know what run he had at Kentucky. You know, dominated
Here comes
the
Marias.
last 25 laps. Look at
him go.
He's a rocket ship.
Wow. If he can stay high, he'll help Castro Neves.
Yeah, I was going to say Carpenter was going to be that guy because of how good he was in Kentucky.
Yeah, see, now Castro Neves looks in the mirror. He says, oh, now I've got help up top. I have help up top. So slide up high. Come on, Mario, catch up to me.
You know, one thing to consider with Mario Marias, when you have those 20 pushes of the overtake button, Mario Marias has already used 13 of those allotted to him. That he used to his advantage to get up there on that high side.
Here he comes, Jack.
Yep.
Castro Neves is like, come on, keep coming, Danny.
Well, this is going to just really give us that pack racing like we saw, like we saw yesterday in warm-up. Look at that.
If you're just sitting in the fans, if you're sitting in the stands or you're just sitting at home on the couch, just look at this.
Look at Scheckter. Scheckter was thinking, I'm going to poke up top and go 3 wide on you boys.
And TK's got a good run going.
Well, Dan Weldon has come down to the Firestone stand to take a look at some of this exciting racing. I know you'd like the National Guard car to be in the midst of all that, but let's talk for a moment about the half-shaft braking. Is part of it maybe because these guys are trying to light the tires up to get some heat in them?
You know, it's just one of those things. It's unfortunate. You have to do that on a night like tonight, but I didn't actually light them up too much. It was just weird. It kind of went before we'd even really left. So that's unfortunate for the National Guard Panther Racing team, but we'll have to, you know, work hard and bounce back from this.
Dan, you've had a chance to watch some of this side-by-side racing. All right, who do you like? Oh, we've got a car up against the wall, fellas.
Marco.
It's Marco, just scraped the wall, not a big hit at all. In fact, he's keeping the car going, but the second caution of the evening does come out.
So that's when you get all those guys in the pack. They can take their breath now. You know, you can catch your breath. I just did.
I just did a bunch of carrier landings.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Well, we knew Marco liked the high side, but not that high. Not that high.
Right.
He's wiggling it to see if anything's broken, but that was hair-raising.
Let's take a look and see if we can determine what happened, aside from the fact that he just gets up a little higher.
Yeah, I mean, we said he liked the high side. He was already running high. He just got too high to where there was a little bit of marbles and debris. What? Look at the dust. Look at the dust.
It was a Newman Haas Lanigan car ahead of him that he was just close enough to where it took some air off, and he got that much higher. And they think the car's okay.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Send him back out.
Hey, we can replace those tires, and off you go, Marco.
Okay, so he just brought out his own yellow.
Yeah, now
filled up. Yeah, look at
that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot of rubbing.
That wasn't just a gentle hit all the way around. There, we're looking at the tires. You can see where it got the wheels right in the rim there, but not horribly. Obviously, they didn't think it did anything to the suspension.
Yep.
Wow. I'm sure he'll jerk the wheel back and forth right now just to make sure.
That on the way in,
you know, nothing feels way goofy or doesn't snap anything.
Last year here was his best finish at Chicagoland. So we take a bit of a breather here. Scheckter has moved into 3rd spot.
It's been 15 laps since they pitted, but when it's yellow, they pit again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of these deals where it is such an advantage to pit under yellow because you lose a lap every time you pit under green. You just got to do it.
Absolute 180 from the strategy and thought process of road course or street course racing. Quick look there at Tony George on the headset.
This season, college football is on Versus. Saturday, September 12th, 3:30. Wyoming Cowboys host the #2 Texas Longhorns. And then Saturday the 19th at 7 o'clock Eastern, the Florida State Seminoles head to Provo to take on the BYU Cougars. College football is on Versus, and the weather here at Chicagoland Speedway tonight feels like football weather. Very, very cool and windy. But some great action on the racetrack as Ryan Hunter-Reay pulls away from his pit box and goes back into the race.
He came into pit road. He thought the pits were open and they waved him by, so he wasn't able to get into pit road and make his changes.
Oops. My bad. I'll go on.
Well, the points continue to shuffle, and now Scott Dixon, as they run, is in the points lead with a 5-point margin over Briscoe and a 6-point advantage over Dario Franchitti. This championship is going to go right to Homestead Miami Speedway, as it should.
Still haven't opened the pits.
Yeah. Still apparently trying to get the field properly aligned before they open the pits.
So you don't think we're going to see any split strategy maybe amongst some of the team cars up front? I mean, we know it's a big deal to come in under yellow on a super speedway, because anytime you do under green, you're going to lose a lap.
I just think the leaders will pit. There'll be, there could be someone mid-pack that tries something different, but general rule of thumb, if it's a caution, take it.
You know what's funny though, listening to some of the front runners, Tim Cindric just told Helio Castroneves to pit, and Helio sounded surprised. He says, "You sure you want to pit? You sure you want to pit?" And Tim Cindric very calmly said, "All right, how about if we do it this way? Just follow Dixon."
Oh, okay. Monkey see, monkey do.
Well, he's pretty confident Scott's going to pit then.
But that's a good strategy. That's pretty common.
Yeah, he actually didn't follow him. He almost tried to get in before.
Schechter's going to stay out.
See, that's
and
funny
so
that you mentioned that, Robbie, because that's your team.
That's your team.
I know. Well, no, and I see Franchitti and Briscoe coming in too. I thought some of those guys may have just sliced it up a little differently.
All right, let's see how things go on pit road this time.
I know Ryan Briscoe will be looking for redemption. You bet he'll be close to the wall this time. Yeah, he's right in there.
And everybody's taking tires.
Marias out. Franchitti.
+2 for Marias, +2 for Franchitti.
Yeah, Matos picking up 2 points.
Now,
2 positions, I should say.
Did Marias take on tires? As we were focusing on the lead group there, I just saw Briscoe, Franchitti. They definitely all took tires.
Okay, so we anticipate a green flag in just a few laps here at Chicagoland. Welcome back to Chicagoland Speedway. On board with Ryan Briscoe here as he comes in, and this time make sure he gets close enough.
And he still has a bit of a tough time. He has a slight angle, and there's a little bit of a second hit to try and get the fuel. You can see the car streaming by. Part of that is he has the best pit position on pit road, but that's because it works best when you're leading. When you have to come in around other cars, that's actually a tough spot to beat. Here we go.
Briscoe restarts in 12th spot as the green flag comes out. The 2 who did not pit are up front, namely Thomas Schechter and Tony Kanaan.
And Franchitti timed that brilliantly as they passed the start-finish line. He's up through the gears, went by Marias. Remember, when the green flag falls for a restart, you can pass anybody. You don't have to get back to that start-finish line.
Look at Rafa Matos. He's right in the middle of things here for Lusso Dragon Racing.
Sure enough.
You look behind Schechter, and there's only a couple cars back, and then you see Marias. And, of course, Marias pitted. Schechter did not.
Look
that's
at
why
Matos
I think,
going up high.
But that's why I think you pit, because, look, it didn't gain Kanaan nor Schechter much at all, because the guys who did pit are right behind him.
And they've got fresh tires, and they're full of fuel.
Exactly.
This is Ed Carpenter.
And look at Franchitti, that other yellow car up there on the right on the high side. He's got big momentum working.
Momentum.
I'm going to get that out later. That's
okay.
It's going to show itself.
Didn't mean to steal your thunder there.
No, that was a good setup. But in the last 30 laps, we're going to see that.
Oh, look how that car, you don't know. Come on, man.
He's driving with some confidence there,
Yeah,
boy,
he is.
isn't he?
Yep. Again, Matos up there on the high side, though, trying to make it 3 wide.
Do you see him wiggle? Do you see the rear of that car? Matos is just wiggle back and forth in the rear as it sparked.
Well, that's because he just came in and got tires, right? We saw the same thing at the very start of the race.
But of course, Jan, you don't want to lift. You just want to keep it gassed up and go.
Yes,
No matter if it's moving around a little bit like that, you just gas it and go, don't you?
That's right.
They're lined up better now than they were at the start of the race.
Look at Dixon.
3 wide back here. Dixon on top.
Are you thinking points when you're up top there?
I would think you were thinking points all the time now if you're in the championship battle.
Look at that shot.
Oh, man. 14 cars separated by 1 second.
Oh, that's a tight group right there.
Man, look at this.
Watch the car in the middle. Rafa Matos. Excuse me, look out. Coming through. They didn't touch, but they got closer than already being close.
Mario in the middle of a 3 wide.
Look at this. Isn't just one group that's 3 wide. They're 3 wide, 3, 4 deep. Dixon, though, is very impressive. He wants to get up to the front there on the high side. So earlier when we were saying he wasn't as good on the high side, well, forget we were saying that.
There's Serbia. Just got a shot of him coming up high as well.
Look at that pack.
Just intense wheel-to-wheel racing.
At 211 miles an hour, they're doing this at an average.
Oh, the intensity in your arms, your forearms is just, you're watching everything going on around you, and you're just waiting for a yellow to catch your breath.
Great action. You can see it on IndyCar nonstop on Versus. Tony Kanaan leads at Chicagoland. The race, he is currently in 4th spot. All kinds of activity on the racetrack. 2009 saw 20 lead changes at Kentucky, the most at any racetrack. And we have had 13 tonight, and we're on lap 130 of 200.
Guys, there's no reason to believe that we shouldn't get more lead changes. I've been taking a look. Now, the early speeds, the best speeds, were about 2:15 and a half, 2:15.6 or 7. The race pace has slowed considerably by almost 2 miles an hour. As I've talked to a lot of the guys down here on pit road, it seems like almost everybody, despite that yellow, are still trying to make fuel. That's the case with Ed Carpenter in the 20. That's the case with Dario Franchitti, Dixon, and Marias. They're all kind of in that middle part of the race, just trying to see what they can get for fuel mileage and see if they can use it when it really counts.
A shout out to Oriol Servia. He's in 5th spot, driving for Newman Haas Lanigan. Robbie.
And this is a guy who started in 9th up to 5th place right now. I just talked to the crew just a moment ago. They said there was a lambda sensor problem with his motor earlier. 2 stops ago, they made an adjustment to it. So, in effect, he was down on horsepower. They made a slight adjustment to whatever this lambda sensor is, guys, and obviously gave him a little more of a boost, and now he's pushing in the top 5 in the 5th spot.
Full throttle or full horsepower is always a good thing.
Absolutely.
Always.
You know, so this is the time in the race is just where everybody's doing a little bit of posturing, like we just heard from Jack, saving some fuel. It's what's going to happen after that last stop and there's no more pit stops. That's when it's going to get crazy.
Target Chip Ganassi drivers lead with Franchitti first and Dixon second, followed by Marias, Kanaan, and Servia. Intensity of winning a championship. Not only are the drivers intent on winning, but so are the pit crews. They give it everything they can when their driver comes in for a pit stop. One crew and driver will be celebrating the championship at Homestead Miami Speedway, and you will be there on Versus. Right now, Target Chip Ganassi leads 1-2. And they have had 5 1-2 finishes. The last came at Richmond of this year when Dixon won and Dario finished second.
Check out Mario Marias, who has joined those teammates. And Robbie, to answer your question, Robbie, Floyd got back to us during the break. He did not take tires on that stop to elevate him 2 positions, but even with not taking tires, he's left this entire group and now joined the front.
A good testament to the consistency you get from that Firestone rubber as he puts a little extra stint on them. As cool as it is tonight, I don't really think any of that's an issue. I mean, we're down to 56 degrees out there, so that absolutely does help with that tire life.
Carpenter and Rahal almost had it coming together there at the line.
And Rahal and his teammate Servia, check this out on the right-hand side of the screen. Rahal comes down to the bottom at the same time that Servia pushes him just below the line. He had to back off. Hello, teammate.
And usually it's you have the spotters up top that are standing next to each other. You think those guys are hitting each other up there and say, hey, what were you telling him? What were you telling him? Were you telling Servia to come down on me or not? So you know there's a little head bumping going up top above us where the spotters are an extra set of eyes passing info down to these guys.
I'm just thinking about Mario Marias right now. He was in the middle of this, and he was fighting as aggressively as I've ever seen. And because of that, because he didn't lift, like you said, Robbie, he kept going, and now he's joined the front.
Milka Duno on pit lane. And they're taking a lot of time getting her back in the race, and there she goes.
Justin Wilson there in the red and black Z-Line car. We haven't talked too much of him, but a pretty solid run for Dale Coyne. And again, the guy right behind him who loves the high side. We saw him leave a whole black rubber strip down the side of the wall. He's come in, put fresh tires on, and obviously no worse for the wear. And there's his little tire marks. We just went by him up top.
And amazingly, he causes his own yellow, comes in, changes tires, and he's on the lead lap.
Right.
He didn't lose a lap.
And by causing his own yellow and not losing a lap, before he said he had a problem because he was going to be down on fuel, he filled up on fuel.
Justin Wilson there in the 18 car, his team, Dale Coyne Racing, their headquarters is just down the road from Chicagoland Speedway.
Castro Neves, we just got a shot of him there. He's dropping back. He's down to 14th.
Wow, Castro Neves is in 14th.
There he is, the bottom of the screen.
Isn't that amazing that he can fall that far back to 14th after the dominating run he had on the high side going to the front? It just shows you as race conditions change and you make adjustments to the car through the pit stops or not through the pit stops of where you can end up in this field and how competitive and how quick it can change from being second or third back to 11th, 12th.
Castro Neves has led 23 laps in this race, but finds himself back in 14th now, a little more than 3 seconds behind the leader, Dario Franchitti, who's now led 6 of the 8 oval races this year and 9 races total for the season. Back at Chicagoland Speedway, Dario Franchitti leads his teammate Dixon with Briscoe and Mario Marias running in 3rd and 4th, and there they are on your screen. Then we get back to the next group of cars, led by TK and Servia, with Graham Rahal and Ed Carpenter also right there battling for position, and Schechter is on pit lane. Robbie?
Well, Thomas Schechter last came in at lap 95, and he's now throwing up a new set of Firestone Black, so full set of fuel. He should be able to go the distance. He was talking about having problems with one driver in particular. I couldn't know who it was. I think it was Oriol Servia, who he was disappointed in the way he was driving. But this guy was up front. Obviously, it didn't work for him the first time. He's hoping now with his clear pits, he comes out all right.
We saw also Tony Kanaan drop down onto the apron of the racetrack, indicating his pit stop. And here he comes, Lindy.
And before this race, Tony said, hey, we have the 7-Eleven car back where it needs to be. We have a good car. Well, it's better, but he clearly doesn't have the speed and the power he wants to right now. In the earlier pit stops, they have done wing adjustments. This time, they make no changes. Just fuel and tires, and there he goes.
Good stop for Tony Kanaan. Ryan Briscoe is back up to 3rd spot, so despite his bad pit stop, when he pitted too far from the fuel hose. He's back up to third.
And Bob, he had to do it by using 2 pushes of his overtake button. I find it interesting that both Briscoe is down to just 6 remaining, while Franchitti and Dixon have 17 and 18 pushes of the overtake button left to use.
There we are on board with Briscoe.
See, on those 2 pit stops that we saw out of sequence, it is still their last stop of the day. So they're not going to make an additional stop. But of course, while these guys are out here running flat out, they've put them down a lap. If it stays green, they'll be okay. If they catch a caution, those guys are cooked.
Yeah, if the rest of this group, that's the lead pack, Franchitti, Dixon, Briscoe, like you say, if they catch a yellow in pit, those guys are down a lap. Yep. They're not going to get it back. Still, I like the strategy.
You should.
Do you like full throttle or just 95% throttle?
No, Robbie, I'm pointing out there are options.
Oh, you two.
Maybe Bob should be in between us.
Oh, here comes Dario. That gives the lead to Briscoe.
So there's one guy that's not waiting for a yellow, so those guys...
Wow, he did 44. He was burning a lot of fuel up front.
Ryan, of course, trying to earn the 2 points for leading the most laps. He's led 65 and is in the lead spot again. Here's Lindy with the pit stop of Dario.
And what should be Dario's final stop. The last set of pit stops, his teammate Dixon got fuel and tires. Dario got fuel only, and he gets all this as the leaders pass by him out there on the track. He is done, and he is... Oh, they had trouble with the air hose, and he's out now.
Wow, that's a mistake that you don't see very often.
But a great heads up.
Yeah.
Great heads up by the right front tire changer to get his arm under there and push that gun out of there.
And great heads up, he didn't take off.
Yeah.
Because you know, you get the timing in your head, okay, everything's ready to go, and they held him.
Well, this is where this game's going to get really exciting. We've kind of gone through all our pit stops. Everybody's coming in for their last one. How they... Oh, look at the teammates. Wow. Yeah, remember the spotters are upstairs next to each other, too.
Justin Wilson comes in the Z-Line Designs car.
Again, all this is fine. Anyone who's pitting now, including Franchitti, we see that would be Briscoe peeling off. Yes. As we see these people peeling off, this is all fine as long as there's not a caution. If there's a caution, anyone who stays out is going to be ahead of the whole game.
Lindy.
Ryan Briscoe's crew are ready to work as fast as they can when he pulls in here. He has been complaining to Roger Penske this stint of a lot of understeer, and so they are going to make some wing adjustments while he's in here. Looks like Scott Dixon is always also going to be pulling in the pits this stop, and Ryan Briscoe finishing up that fuel, and he is out right now.
And trying to get around Ryan Hunter-Reay as he makes his way into the marks. His best ever IndyCar Series finish was last week at Sonoma, of 4th place. His mom, Dinia, is here. She came from Brazil, arrived this morning. He wants to show her he can do a couple spots better than that and take the victory here today. I talked to Jimmy Baxter just a moment ago, and he said this car is fast.
And you saw there where Mirage was coming to the pit, they were spinning that umbrella, and that just helped give some color ID for him to hit his mark and hit his pit box.
Here's Ed Carpenter making his final pit stop.
This is all payday right now under green stops. The Vision team of Carpenter, they showed us they could get it done in Kentucky.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
So we may have seen Dixon on the apron, but he hasn't pitted yet.
All right, fellas, I'm going to tell you what I think. I think Dixon comes in as Danica Patrick pulls out of pit road. I think Dixon tries to squeeze this 2 more laps. Why? Because then he won't have to fill a full tank of fuel. Remember, you get 3 gallons a second. We'll have to watch it as Danica's crew goes to work. See how they put the 7 on the outside tire so she can see it when she pulls out of pit road.
Graham Rahal has completed his service. Here's Dixon now on pit lane. And Elio Castroneves is also on pit lane. Lindy?
Scott Dixon says his car feels good right now. In the pit stops before this, they said, what do you want changed? He said, free it up, make it faster. I feel like I'm dead slow. He feels good now, and he's out.
busted out when you get out on pit road.
He's got a big gap on Graham Rahal, who would be the next in line.
There is Castroneves coming out of pit road. Remember, cold tires, not up to temperature pressure.
There's Dixon.
And Briscoe now slots into second. Rahal, as they, depends on where you've pitted. As they cycle through, Rahal drops to sixth.
Almost a 2-second lead, however, between first and second now. Ryan Briscoe trying to catch up. And there is Elio running in third spot.
And on his overtake button as we're watching him.
Yeah. So Dixon leads. We'll be back with more on Versus. Back at Chicagoland Speedway in the peak antifreeze and motor oil Indy 300 at Chicagoland Speedway. Dario Franchitti and Elio Castroneves battle for the third position. Here's what happened to Dario his last pit stop.
Well, when you're the outside front, Kevin O'Donnell, when he's done with the air jack, you usually throw it around the front of the car. He lays it down. Oh, because there was a wheel nut. Instead of the traditional where you normally throw it around the front of the car, he had to take his hand off the wheel gun to go for a wheel nut. Jack?
And Jan, take a look at this series of pit stops with Scott Dixon and also with Elio Castroneves. Forget Dixon for a moment. Watch Rick Reineman on the back end on the outside. When they complete the stop, Dixon is able to pull straight ahead. But see, Reineman is trying to get Castroneves to crank the wheel because he thinks he's going to have to pull a hard right to get out. That cost him about 0.2 of a second.
And Jack, did you see Ricky Davis on the front, the way he heaved that? That was a great angle to show. When you throw those air guns, man, he was sure that was clear.
Yeah, look out on the other side of the pit wall when that thing's coming.
25 laps to go, and Ryan Briscoe has clinched the 2 bonus points for leading the most laps tonight. If Dixon leads the rest of the race, he will lead 2 laps less than Briscoe. Robbie.
The number 5 Azul Tequila car, Jimmy Vasser, your driver's showing so much patience out there that we haven't seen from him before. Did that Kentucky race that you got taken out in the pits, you think that might have helped him in the long run to show that he could run up front with everybody?
Well, I think he's been maturing all along. You know, we're having a little bit of a heating problem with the Azul car right now. I think it's got packed up with a lot of debris and sand. For some reason, we're a little bit slower on this last stint, but he's been doing a great job. And right now, it looks like Graham and Marco are catching up to us here a bit. We're gonna have our hands full for the end of the run here.
And you didn't even have to. You were telling him to go to fuel position 1 full rich, and he was saying, I'm doing everything I could. In 2 earlier, that car was running that well earlier on.
Well, he was in the draft there with the lead pack, and it makes it a lot easier. But it's a little bit of a different story now. So here we are. We got our hands full right here. So the Azul car looks good, though.
Thanks a lot, Jerry.
Wow. All those guys are... Viso isn't running for position, but everybody else in that pack is. Marias with only 3 overtakes. When we look at Marco Andretti, he has had all kinds of problems tonight, but up on the top side of the racetrack, he has made his mark.
We sure know where to look for Marco when anytime we see him on the track.
3 wide.
Oh, look how tight that is down low.
So now you're back there, you're Ed Carpenter, you know you got to run, you don't have anywhere to go, so he's going to have to feather back on the throttle and just kind of wait to set some up because there's nowhere to go unless you want to try and split that gap.
No. 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th here. Justin Wilson up there in 9th.
Talk about evenly matched. Doesn't get much tighter than that. Oh, Marco's drifting a little.
And you heard Ed come off the throttle just a little bit. Has to, or he's going to run right up on him.
He's like, come on, you 3. Like, somebody take the lead. If somebody doesn't get in line here, I can't get through.
Wow.
Had to ease out.
Look at the movement of the cars. Again, remember, we're 215-mile-an-hour laps.
209, actually, that last lap.
Was it? Okay.
But that's fast enough.
Well, so what's that? Top speed is 215, 260. Like you say, fast enough. It just kind of lulls you into security there, thinking they're not going that fast, but you throw that on top of it. That's bringing E.J. Viso and Justin Wilson into the game here when they're running 3 wide.
Viso is 18th, 2 laps down. Staying right up with this pack of cars. Man, these guys are just 3 wide.
Who's going to sort out of this thing? Oh, look at Marias moving up there with grip.
Robbie, you talk about the speed, and that was 210 in that group, but the leaders are doing 214 and 213, showing that if you run 3 wide, you're just losing. I mean, they're forgetting about the leaders. They're saying, forget it, we're duking out amongst ourselves. Oh, Castro knows
in the wall.
Been in the 3rd position at the time.
With 16 laps to go, the car is going to come to a stop in front of the paying customers here. And he'll try to get to the inside of the racetrack to the apron.
I'd say he's okay. The way he was driving that car down there, guys, you see him working his hands. I'd say he's okay.
Tim Cindric looks on. See what happened. It's Dario.
Oh, something broke. Yeah.
Something in that right front.
Yeah, the right front. Something suspension broke. Remember, in Infineon, something broke on the car when he ended up flying. Now, of course, that was contact with Tony Kanaan.
Yeah.
That may have caused that, but that's 2 races in a row where something has broken on the car. This all by himself. Kablamo.
Very similar. Ed Carpenter had the same thing in 3 and 4 here last year. Just something broke on that right front. Sparks. Up the track into the wall.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Robbie, let's talk to Tim Cindric.
Sam, at that moment when Elio hit the wall, I was talking to your crew, and they were saying that just how happy they were with the car. You just couldn't get through traffic, and then that happened. What happened?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Just watching the replay, it definitely looked like something broke there. I'm not sure what, but certainly dropped down, and it's a shame because he was going to be right there at the end. But fortunately, it looks like he's up and out of there, so that's the best news.
This race was playing out. It looked like in your hands finally. I mean, you moved up to 3rd after you had so much trouble getting through traffic, and that happens. It's 2 weeks in a row. I mean, what's going on here?
I don't know. I mean, yesterday I can attribute, or last week I can attribute that to that
bump. Yeah,
that bump with Tony. But tonight I'm not sure what happened there. But he did a great job right before the pit stop, getting ahead of those guys. And it's unfortunate we're sitting here now.
It's tough for you and tough for last year's winner, Elio Castroneves.
Elio out of the car. Okay. But knows that something broke on the car, and that's why he got into the fence big time. Well, we only have 14 more laps to go here at Chicagoland Speedway. Who is going to win it?
Back here, I'm taking a look at the final strategy session, guys, and this is what I see. You've got Scott Dixon, and he has enough push to pass. He has enough overtakes that he can use even 2 on 1 lap. But take a look at Ryan Briscoe when he lines up. He's only going to have 2 lefts there. Dario Franchitti's got 15, and I know Jan and Robbie, you're liking the way Marco Andretti's running on the high side. He's only got 5. So as far as I'm concerned, Team Ganassi, Target Chip Ganassi, they can use that overtake multiple times in the final laps. Poor old Briscoe's got to use his 2 very judiciously.
All right, let's go back to last Sunday afternoon at Infineon Raceway and a couple of incidents with Elio.
First of all, he got into some contact with Tony Kanaan, and then turning into turn number 1, the front suspension let go. He flew off the racetrack way off course, and watch the right front. You'll notice when you see the sparks, it starts to hop. Yep. That right front is hopping. Something in the right front broke again, this time not because of contact, it's because it let go.
Still under caution with 12 laps to go in the Peak Antifreeze Motor Oil Indy 300. 10 laps to go. Points as they run. Briscoe with a 12-point advantage on Dario and a 13-point margin on Scott Dixon. Elio has been mathematically eliminated from title contention. It will go down to Briscoe, Franchitti, or Scott Dixon, who leads this race And we have 9 laps of hold your breath, all out, no holds barred racing. Again, the first 3 in points are running first, second, and third on the racetrack. As the green flag comes out, here we go to see who's going to win it.
And already the battle for fourth is going to go 3
Look
wide.
at that. Look at Graham's got his right front between the tires of Marco as they're coming there. Man.
That's Ed Carpenter in the yellow car looking for the high line. He's way up high, kicking up dust. And there's Marias also. And look at Marco go to the high side.
That's a shocker.
The top 3. The top 3. Just, and a big wiggle for Dario Franchitti. Whew.
So now when Franchitti gets up there and pushes along his teammate, are there orders, guys? I guess let's wait and see how that
Not with 3 races. Not with 3 races. When there's 3 in the championship, it's all, in my opinion, every man for himself.
But also, I think you throw in the Penske car there at Briscoe, you just got to do what you can at this point.
Yeah, but he's running out of overtakes, guys. He's used one. He's only got 1 left. Yep. He better pick the right place to use it.
Yeah. What is, when and where and how and why is the right place to use that last one? Look at the pack coming. Look at Graham's getting in here. Marias is going to be here. This is going to keep everybody honest.
Graham Rahal just got by Franchitti at the line, up to 3rd.
And he's by him. You're right. He got by him with a head of steam.
Now he's going high.
And he's using his overtake button right now.
Emma Dixon.
Look at Marias with the run up top there at the backside of Graham. We knew it was going to be good, guys.
5 to go.
Can't beat this.
No, we knew it was going to be good.
Ooh. Marias wiggling a bit as Ryan heads for the top again. And look at Rahal. He's way up there.
I just remember at the top of the show talking about Graham and Marias and everything they needed.
Briscoe edges ahead.
I don't need no stinking overtake. Look at this.
And he led that lap. He was ahead of him at the line right there. Now,
look at how close they are.
Do you think Briscoe can play the same game? No, he can't play the same game because he's got Rahal behind. I was going to say, do you think he can play the same game he played with Ed Carpenter just to beat him off the line?
Here comes Graham Rahal. He's going to help out Briscoe, but stay behind him. Don't go around him.
13 cars are on the lead lap, and they're all running within 0.6 of a second.
And Jan Rahal has used the overtake button to carve his way to the front. He's pushed that button 3 times in the last 3 laps.
Look at Matos there as go 3 wide for the lead off of corner 4. Dixon has the advantage. Look at Rahal, though.
And Rahal's in green. He's on the button.
Look at this.
They'll come down for the white flag this time. Look at Matos up on top in the 2 car.
And Briscoe's using the last push. It's out. It's over.
Done. They come down for the white flag. One more tour of the 1.5 miles at Chicagoland Speedway, and Briscoe leads by a foot or so.
But now what Briscoe wants to do, he wants to maintain that position on the high side and hopefully get a run off of 4.
And he's getting help from Marias. Mario Marias comes back. Jimmy Vasser said the car wasn't as fast, but now it's fast. He's helping him.
And he's got momentum. Not enough to get up on that high side.
Meanwhile, they're 4 wide behind. Here comes the win, and who is it going to be?
Briscoe.
Briscoe has the advantage, and he gets the win.
Oh, man.
Briscoe back from the frightening accident in 2005, but he's put all that behind him now as he records the victory. And the pilot has made the landing on the aircraft carrier, and now you can relax a little bit and take a breath. Ryan Briscoe wins for the 5th time in his career and the 3rd time this season, winning also at St. Pete and Kentucky.
And We saw exactly that same thing, how he sized up Ed Carpenter working the high side, and obviously he used that overtake push at the perfect time right before they came to the white flag.
This is again going to go down in the record book as one of the closest finishes in IndyCar Series history. It is the fourth closest finish in IndyCar history, 8 thousandths of a second. Lindy.
And Roger Penske, you just told me that Ryan deserved that tonight. Why do you say that?
Well, I think when you saw we got a little trouble here in the pits, and he drove it from 13th up to the front, and you know, good safe driving with the guys. I mean, they're tight all night. Dixon's a great guy to race with. Rahal had a hell of a run there. Hey, man.
Congratulations from Chip Ganassi here.
I was
Roger,
about it tonight, huh?
how did you decide when to use the push the pass? Because he only had 2 left and Dario had 15.
Well, we had to use it to get up through the field, and then certainly at the end there, he had one there at the end. We waited for the end.
Roger, go celebrate.
Yeah, thank you.
Just an unbelievable night of racing here at Chicagoland Speedway as Ryan Briscoe wins at Chicagoland. Chicagoland does not disappoint once again. Izod salutes a winning performance. With Izod Victory Lane, here's Robbie with Ryan Briscoe.
And Ryan Briscoe takes his 3rd victory of the season. And it's the happiest I think I've ever seen Ryan Briscoe. Whether he wins 2nd or 3rd, that is a proud moment. And his team showing him some love. That was amazing what he was able to do with only 1 push left of the button. And I guess, Ryan, that was the right time to use that 1 push, huh?
I guess so. Man, Roger.
You're in it tonight, man. Oh, my God, what a run. That's the best I've ever seen you run. Terrific run.
Pretty big words from the man there.
It's huge. This is a big win. I didn't think I'd have enough for Scott, but once I got beside him, you know, the side draft just pulled me right there. And I just waited till that last lap to try to use the push, and it seemed to work. I don't know if he was out, but what a day. We're up and down. I made a mistake. Dude, thank you. Thank you. Made a mistake in the first pit stop, and they couldn't get the fuel in, but
this is the last lap.
Reminds me of Kentucky a little bit, eh?
You got some help from the number 5, believe it or not.
Well, he had a fast car today, and well, I got to thank him, I guess. I didn't even know if I'd won it. I was screaming, and then I was like, hey, guys, did we actually get this? So that's just awesome. Very happy.
And in points also, you really took advantage of the situation. I believe 25 points now up and 33 points on the 2 target cars. That's their biggest objective heading to Japan.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as I said, I think to win the championship, we're going to have to win races, and I was doing all I could to try to get Scott tonight because I don't want him getting wins. You know, he's had enough this year. So hopefully we can stop those guys for the next 2.
You started the season with a victory. Right now, this looks like your biggest victory of your career. Ryan Briscoe takes Chicagoland, Jack.
And the guy that he beat by just a scant few inches got to watch that finish from outside. Scotty, you said before we got here that you kind of expected this outcome a little bit.
Yeah, I've seen this movie several times before, unfortunately, and Chicago, you know, just keep finishing second. So, you know, the whole night, I think, you know, we drove a great race. The guys in the team did a fantastic job. Pit stops were flawless. You know, launched me up there a few times, but we just didn't have the speed. You know, our 1.5 mile dominance that we seemed to have last year on the target team has really been affected, and we really need to play catch up to Penske. They're clearly a lot faster than us, and that's all I had. That's all I had left, and he timed it right, and definitely great job to Ryan and the team.
You know, he left a lot of overtakes, though, on the table. I mean, Briscoe used his final one on the last lap. You had, at last count, I think you had about 7 left in the car. What?
I think I pushed overtake every lap from when we had the restart.
Right,
so you know, you have the 12-second delay there, or 10-second delay. So you got to wait each time you see it turn off, and you see him coming.
What's that feel like?
You know, you want the lights. I know, you just want the lights to go away so you can push it again. And you know, I think we timed it great. We started just down the back straight, and it ran out probably just after start finish. But clearly we didn't have enough speed, and credit to Team Penske. But you know, got to thank the target guys. They did a fantastic job tonight.
Bob?
Scott Dixon finishes second by 8 thousandths of a second. And now Chicagoland has 3 of the top 4 closest finishes in series history and 4 of the top 6 closest finishes. Great run here tonight as Ryan Briscoe celebrates the victory. And congratulations to Thomas Schechter, who is the Firestone pit performer of the race, spending a total of 1 minute 30.5 seconds on pit lane. Tony Kanaan second and Dixon third. And congratulations to Mario Moraes, who turned in his best career finish tonight of third. Lindy?
And for Mario, it just keeps getting better and better. 4th last week and 3rd this time. Talk about how your pit stops really played into your race today.
Well, you know, the guys did a great job. All the pit stops were really quick. And, well, the team has been working really hard this season long. And I'm pleased that happened here. You know, my mom is here. She come from Brazil. She arrived this morning, so it's great.
And I know you're driving for your dad the rest of this season. Talk about, I understand you had a little problem with your visor and then a problem with the radiator. What happened?
Yeah, well, I don't know. The car got a little bit hot, so I lose some power. And with the tear-offs, I don't know why they come just all off one time and start to get dirty. And one time I was not watching and look anymore, so it's pretty tough.
But it all worked out. Mario, congratulations.
Thank you.
Robbie?
Dario Franchitti just told me it's not over with yet. You might have that 25-point deficit, but you know, Jack Arute talked about how you had 15 pushes at one time. You can't always use those pushes, can you?
No, I couldn't. I was kind of caught there at the end because Scott and I had worked so well together over the day, pushing each other past other cars, and I couldn't move out to get behind Briscoe to try and make it 3 wide because there was no way I was going to push Briscoe past my own teammate. That just wasn't going to happen. So I couldn't use those pushes because all I would have done was driven at the back of Scott. So that was kind of frustrating.
Also, the right front tire changer also had a good thinking, but trying to get that gun cleared away. But that seemed like it was what cost you. Here's it for your first time to see.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we just didn't pull it. They didn't pull the gun, and that's what costs championships right there. You know, it's a real shame. We were in the lead there. The target guys have been flawless up to that point tonight, and the target car's been pretty good. Maybe not fast enough to win, but Scott and I worked well together, but it just wasn't to be.
Now there's 2 races still left. This is far from over. You made up a lot of ground at Sonoma, but it is getting down to the nitty-gritty. You need something to happen quick. How can you keep the hopes up?
Well, it's either going to happen in Japan or Homestead, or it's not, and we can do it at both those tracks, and we're going to be pushing really hard to make it happen. You know, both those tracks are more handling tracks than this one, and I think we'll be in good shape. But we've got to keep pushing, man. We've got to keep going for it, and we're not giving up. Absolutely no way. The target boys are not giving up, and we've got 2 cars still in it.
I think that says it all right there, guys.
Yep, Dario finishes in 4th position here tonight, and a salute to the winning team, Team Penske, on the number 6 car for Ryan Briscoe, who wins the 4th closest finish in IndyCar Series history here tonight at Chicagoland Speedway. We'll be back to wrap it up in just a moment. Stay with us on Versus. Here are the unofficial results of the Peak Antifreeze and Motor Oil Indy 300. Briscoe wins. Serbia's 2nd straight top 10. Schechter's 2nd top 10 this year. There were 13 cars on the lead lap at the end of the race, and Tony Kanaan in 13th was 0.8 of a second behind the winner of the race. Hideki Muto crashed out, and so did Helio Castroneves. Kanaan was not happy.
And watch this, he's going to just slide right down here into the middle. And now that's his teammate right there on his right. Look at the teammate kind of come down, big lift coming out of it. And we saw a big reaction after the checkered flag fell of TK after this. Look at him kind of stomping around.
He's looking for Michael Andretti.
And we were trying to figure it out.
You could just tell by his eyes.
Yeah.
And remember, he was only 0.8 back in that 11th finishing place.
Yeah.
We were trying to figure out what it was that set him off.
Well, Graham Rahal records a 5th place finish, his 4th top 5 on an oval this year. Robbie?
And you were in the middle of some of that mess, Graham Rahal. I personally thought you had it. You were charging the hardest at the end. Did you think you had it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, honestly, when I went up high, I thought, okay, we're going to get it finally, you know, because the car had so much momentum. And honestly, all night, the McDonald's car was great. It was just, you know, trying to get our opportunity, and we got it, pulled out of the draft, went up high, and it just died. So unfortunately didn't quite have enough speed, but I mean, when you go up that high, the distance that you're taking there is massive, and just fortunate didn't have quite enough speed.
The air jack didn't work properly on your first stop, I believe it was. You dropped back quite a ways into the field, and the team pulled together and let you move back up again.
Yeah, I mean, the guys worked really hard because I told them, I said, all right, we need a good last stop here because, yeah, I mean, the one stop we'd fallen way back because we sat with the car on the ground for a couple seconds before we even got it up to take the tires off, so that killed us. But really, I think it was great what we did tonight, and as I said, the McDonald's car, it was top notch tonight. We need to. I mean, this just shows that this team. If we get a little bigger budget, we can develop a little bit more. We can beat these guys. We can run with these guys. It's going to take some effort, but for us to be where we are now, you got to be pretty happy.
Your teammate Oriol Servia finishes 7th, not too far behind you. Now, as far as the pushes are concerned, Dario said he couldn't use the pushes when he needed them most. You had 5 left. I'm sure tonight you'll probably go home dreaming, I could have pushed one here, one there, one there. Do you remember those times?
You know what, honestly? I won't think that at all, and these guys I'm sure will pick on me a bit for not using them, but as I just told someone else over there, the racing that close, the last thing I'm thinking about is pushing a button on the steering wheel. I mean, honestly, just trying to look forward and make sure I don't hit anybody or anything. That's my biggest concern, so truthfully, pushing a button really didn't sound too appealing at that point.
Go grab a Big Mac.
I'm gonna try.
All right, grab Lindy.
Ed Carpenter, would you say the first half was a different race for you than the second half?
Yeah, the first half I thought we were going to be pretty good. We got up to the front pretty quick, started saving fuel, and one at Kentucky we were really good in the pits, and tonight we just couldn't keep pace in the pits. I don't know if it was me and my in and outs or what, so we lost a little time there, and then late in the race got more understeer, and other guys just seemed a little quicker. I think maybe we may have had on a little too much downforce at the end. It's hard to say though. The Menards John Manville car was still really quick. Just a couple times got bottled up, behind guys running 3 wide and 2 wide, nowhere to go. So had a good car. The last lap, I think we started it in 10th and still ended up 6th. So it could have been worse, could have been better. After Kentucky, anything less was going to be disappointing though.
Yeah, and we're watching